The tragedy of religious intolerance had burnt deeply into her soul and had inspired her quest for the path of truth, which she found at last when she came into touch with the Baha'i revelation. Sarah Louisa Ryan, Lady Blomfield, born in County Tipperary in 1859, was one of the earliest Irish Baha'is. Daughter to a Catholic father and Protestant mother, she grew up under the shadow of religious intolerance. This experience set her on a path in search of truth, which she believed she had found in the Baha'i revelation. Unlike most who occupied a similar position in British society, all of her life, Lady Blomfield was deeply committed to humanitarian work and alleviating the suffering of others. A supporter of the suffragettes and Home Rule for Ireland, she was a fearless protector of the rights of women, children, prisoners, and animals. She found in the teachings of Bahá'u'lláh the fullest expression and framework for bringing these ideals into reality. Of her belief, she wrote, "Nothing less than the happiness of every human being is the ideal for the Baha'i. He must not loiter by the way on the road to this ideal. He must strive and work and strive until all the regions of the earth shall become resplendent." The Bab's mission began on the 23rd of May, 1844. That same day, Abdu'l-Baha, who was to become a close friend and mentor of Lady Blomfield, was born. Abdu'l-Baha was the eldest son of Baha'u'lláh, the one whose cause had been heralded and promised by the Bab. He had been appointed to lead the community after Baha'u'llah's passing and spent most of his life in exile and imprisonment. When finally freed from his imprisonment under the Ottoman Empire in 1908, Abdu'l-Baha set out on extensive journeys to Europe and North America with the aim of spreading the message of the new faith, calling the people of the world to unite with the recognition of their inherent oneness. A decade before Abdu'l-Baha's release, the new faith had already begun to spread throughout the West. Galvanized by the vision of the Christ-promised kingdom of God on earth, these early Western believers longed above all else for an opportunity to meet Abdu'l-Baha. In 1911, Lady Blomfield met Abdu'l-Baha in London, where he began the first of his historic visits to the West. "He arrived, and who shall picture him?" she wrote. "A silence as of love and awe overcame us as we looked at him." Lady Blomfield played a unique role as host to Abdu'l-Baha during his visits to Britain between 1911 and 1913, offering her London home for his use. Her daughter Mary, later recalling her mother during those days, wrote, "I can see my beloved mother, eager, vital, full of sublime enthusiasm, never losing a word or a movement of the Master's, fully realizing that this visit was an event which belonged to the world." She was also a close companion to Abdu'l-Baha during his visits to Paris, where she took copious notes of his public talks and conversations, which formed the substance of the book Paris Talks. Lady Blomfield became very close to Abdu'l-Baha and his family. He recognized in her a great capacity for serving others and encouraged her in her humanitarian endeavors. He described her as dearer to me than all the queens of the world, and bestowed on her the name Sitare, meaning star, Having served the Red Cross in France during World War I, Lady Blomfield was horrified at the suffering which had engulfed Europe, and at the end of the war, inspired by the Baha'i teachings, she turned her attention particularly to the plight of children so grievously impacted by the conflict. In 1919, she assisted in the founding of the Save the Children Fund, fully supported and encouraged by Abdu'l-Baha, who wrote to her saying, "Contribution, protection, and care of these children are the greatest altruism and worship, and the cause of satisfaction to the Most High, the Almighty." Upon the passing of Abdu'l-Baha in 1921, Lady Blomfield accompanied his grief-stricken grandson, Shoghi Effendi, back to Haifa from London. Only after his return to the Holy Land did Shoghi Effendi learn that he had been appointed in Abdu'l-Baha's will and testament as the guardian of the faith, a station which entailed leadership of the worldwide Baha'i community. Such a monumental responsibility, thrust unexpectedly upon the 24-year-old, came as a great shock. In these days of grief, Lady Blomfield served the young guardian and the family of Abdu'l-Baha with humility and radiance, developing in particular an intimate friendship with the sister of Abdu'l-Baha, as well as his widow and daughters. She began to take notes of her conversations with them, realizing the precious opportunity to capture for posterity the memories of these heroic women who had lived through the earliest days of the new faith. She wrote, "Only they can tell certain things, and if not collected now, it would be lost to the world of the future." These spoken chronicles were later published as The Chosen Highway, one of the earliest and most illuminating histories of the Baha'i faith in English. The stories of the Bab and Bahá'u'lláh, vividly recounted by members of the family of Abdu'l-Baha, have proven to be an immortal gift to posterity. Referring in that book to the day the Bab's mission began, she wrote, "What a day in the history of the world. The Bab, the Herald of Bahá'u'lláh, the Promised One, opened the new age of mankind." Lady Blomfield's life of service, not only to her faith, but to the welfare of the world at large, through her many humanitarian pursuits, shines out like a star. No wonder that Abdu'l-Baha gave her that precious name, Sitare, star.